information on the monitoring.
And
Monitoring of the.
all right, we're going to begin. We just have a quorum, and we might have to proceed. A number of others on the way. Apologize for the late start. Um, we'll have to look more carefully in the future at how we select these committees, because the technical officers keep coming, the professionals keep coming on time, and have to sit out a lot of time, which is valuable man hours. If you look, Minister of Justice, if you look at all the legal power over there and do it by hours, I don't think the budget could cover them if they trade them at a genuine hourly rate, all right, DP? For 1 hour with the DPP, SG, Director of Legal Reform, all here waiting. And I don't say it like this, we have to take note of that, because it's failure of our side to have a quorum, which we have to try and correct going forward. This morning, what I insisted on pursuing, because we are pretty near the end of the matrix, and then we can take a quick look at the summary of a decision made, because we need to try and tidy up this decision, this piece of legislation. I think we also left with a little request from you, Mr. Bailey, to look at, no, it is legal. Did you have RDPP?
Miss Blair, Miss Blair called me about it.
Who?
Monitoring update for the watch list.
All right, we'll begin.
The request for LID to examine the watch. It's okay, sir.
All right, we'll proceed. I think we're on page 32, looking first in terms of the comments. We wanted to tidy up the comments and then go into the schedule. I think we're at the registration now, the registry, which is currently the Ministry of Justice, and there's a proposal to move it into, no, what was the recommended?
Interesting.
Yeah. Minister, yeah, member from, we're at the very end of the recommendation. No, before I get this, the first schedule, the Minister of National be the minister responsible for the Criminal Justice Administration Act in terms of the registry. I'm looking on page 32 of the matrix. No, you get to page 32 before the first, they're just before the first schedule. We come to the schedule, because I just want to wrap up that today. But there's a proposal. The registry is currently at your list, remember, in terms of monitoring the gangs. There was a discussion, the Joint Select Committee, bear in mind that the registry of.
What is it saying that they were released by the register?
Right. Right. No, but we need to ensure that that is activated so it can be of value in the monitoring exercise. I think what was proposed is that the law now allows for monitoring them through the registry rather than creating an additional legislation. Am I right?
But Chairman, what the committee would need to get information on is if there is an issue right now with the monitoring. Is there a problem with what exists now? And because if there is no problem, then what are we changing? Also, how do you justify changing it only in relation to gangs but not in relation to the other matters?
That came from. I think really what you're looking is how active we are in the use of this registry process. And it can be done from, I believe it's one government. The recommendation actually came through my ministry initially, but there are many other things to deal with there. Do you have any comment, Minister? I get the impression of what was being suggested that we create a registry for the gangs as opposed to the registry for the.
The law already, it was already amended, So before we had what we loosely refer to as the deportees. And there is, when they come in, there is a monitoring system and a registry, and it goes through Minister with responsibility for justice. The law was amended. This is a Criminal Justice Admin Act to also include persons who fall under the anti-gang law. So it's already there. What the proposal is now to allow for those matters relating to anti-gang to be dealt with by the Minister of National Security and the other matters to remain with the Minister of Justice. But I'm saying from a law reform perspective, before we change anything, we need to, one, know and understand how it is operating now. Two, if there are any issues. Three, what is the rationale for bifurcating the system? Because with this proposal, you would now have some matters being addressed by the Minister of National Security, others being dealt with by the Minister of Justice, and we all know what can happen when we now splinter off a system. And I don't think we have that. I don't think that data was provided to the committee members.
It's quite clear, Chairman, that it should be within MNS because the Ministry of Justice wouldn't have the resources to be able to monitor, you know, these deportees or the gang members, as the case may be. Huh? No, but how did it come under the Ministry of Justice? I mean,
because the Criminal Justice Admin Act falls under MOJ, so I suspect that's the reason it's been there. It's like having a register and so, but I think we would need to know how it's operating right now.
I don't think it's operating, to the best of my knowledge.
The list is there, but nothing has happened with it.
Yes.
That's what they're saying. Now, we could discuss whatever benefits derive, whether it is the Ministry of Justice to activate to work closely with the police.
Chairman, can I then ask, since this is not the last meeting of this committee, that you do some checks before you take any decision. You do some checks to see how it's actually operating now.
Sorry, Chairman and SG. We have tried from our side to try to get some information from the Ministry of Justice. We were advised by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Justice that they don't know anything about this registry. That's the first thing. We made requests from the constabulary force to find out how it is that the registry is being utilized. We also were not able to get any information from the JCF, which is why our recommendation from MNS policy was that the Ministry of National Security manages this aspect as it relates to anti-gang offenses.
But then, Chairman, it suggests there is a bigger issue, though, because there is another aspect, the deportee aspect. So I don't think we should just go ahead then and just change one part. We need to really look at, so since the Minister with responsibility for justice is here, I think we really need to look at it. But if we're going to do any change, I don't think it should be in relation to one aspect of it and not look at the other aspect.
But
Chairman, it's quite clear that, you see, the monitoring especially has to be done by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, which comes under the Ministry under MNS. In other words, there's no other basis on which these persons would be monitored. I mean, it has to come, the monitoring has to be done by the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
I hear clearly what you're saying, but I think what has been brought to my attention, and there clearly need to be some work done here, because it comes under the criminal administration, criminal justice admin law act, and that includes expunging and all kind of things there. So we need to look at it and see what is working, and therefore what should come through, and if we're changing, we know that, because clearly we're coming up with another matter here in Parliament, which is, I guess, the role of Parliament really, is that we have legislation which we can work with, but it's not working right now. So I think the first should be look at what's happening with you. If to make it work, that's to come here and do, but we'll look at how we can make this thing work.
All right, what we'll do for the next meeting, Chairman, is to investigate how it came that MOJ is supposed to be monitoring, and then what has happened since. I mean, Maurice, you have any idea?
No, Minister, but I think one of the questions that will need to be investigated in relation to this, as the SG has indicated, is there's a fairly elaborate scheme under Part 2, which requires, apart from approval for the minister, for the commissioner to make an application to the courts to get an order under that part. And so the question that arises, has this ever been utilized? If the yes. So that's a question as to whether or not these powers have ever been utilized, and that's something that needs to be investigated.
Chairman, it needs to be investigated. Please, Mr. Bailey, just remind me, let us see the process by which it is done, and once the process is completed, who does the monitoring? I think if the commissioner asks for the monitoring, so once the order is obtained, who enforces the order and monitors? It's not clear to me. Chairman, there's something to be investigated.
I think clearly this needs to be done. There is, from what I'm seeing, we can move in summary. There is an act that seeks to do some level of, what I put it, identification of certain grouping, including gangs, and provides for some facilities. Right. So I'd say let's have the discussion in preparation for the next meeting, because clearly it's not working right now. What we need to decide how best we can make it work. It's not just about changing the law, because we keep going in the circle, but we just change the law. That's the first day without advising is not the best way to operate. You create a new law, it might not work either. We need to put in place an appropriate system. All right? At another level, so when we come to the next meeting, we can advise or. There's some recommendation in the first schedule of the Act to include the following: Section 10 and 11 of the malicious injuries to property, and Section 5 of the Larceny Act, and consequently amend penalty to 10 years. Is that applying to simple larceny, or I know Mr. Bailey had some discussion prior to the meeting? Would this amendment and the Jamaica Conservative Forces amendment is indicating we should bring under the schedule as well Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act as serious, or we are doing this part already, Mr. Bailey.
Yes, Minister, all this can actually be done by order. So this doesn't have to, any amendment to the first schedule can be done by an order by the Minister with responsibility for national security.
Okay. I think we'll proceed with the second schedule, because that's where poker comes in, and we have made some orders on the intercept part of it. So we can do this by order. Let's see, all right? That requires consequential amendment. Now, Aliens Act, which is coming up is being prepared to come to Parliament, actually.
No problem with the first one.
Right, so just make sure it's included. The bill has been redrafted. Well, the Aliens Act is being redone, you know. In fact, the bill is prepared. I think it's just a cabinet submission to get it done. Am I right? Yes. So we'll have to look if this needs to be added to it and how long it will take.
Simple larceny. What is the penalty now? It's about 3 years? The only problem, right? The problem you have with this, Chairman, is that most simple larceny are dealt with in the parish courts.
But look, what we're saying here in first schedule is to bring Larceny Act, not only amend the penalty, but bring under this act. Isn't that what is suggested in?
But it would have been there. I'm sure it is there. The question is in relation to simple larceny. No, but I mean, then they wouldn't charge simple larceny, Chairman. Simple larceny is when you steal mangoes and The simple means simple. So most of these simple matters go to the parish courts. You would take, if you go to the Supreme
If we
Court,
bring it on
you're
to
going to
this-
be charged with larceny of
No,
something.
no. But I'm not expecting simple larceny to the Supreme Court. I mean simple larceny in the context of the Anti-Gang Act. So if a gangster can set up on extorting a farmer, let's say, and if he's not successful in getting money, him go there and steal all the mango, which is all of his animals, livestock. It's still simple larceny, but
But Chairman, the likelihood is that you would not be charging the gangster with simple larceny. It would be larceny of something. Would you say that, DPP?
I don't want to be too expansive in light of the fact that we have the media here, but there were issues that arose in a recent matter, and we realized that when you talk about serious offense, meaning an offense specified in the first schedule, that based on the law coming from a case called Smith and Desmond, which deals with the whole issue of larceny vis-a-vis robbery aggravation, simple larceny and receiving are not covered under the schedule. So, in terms of facilitating, so that is a context that it would be important for us that it now be put into the
But DPP, if you put larceny within that context,
simple larceny.
it includes simple larceny, wouldn't you say that? I mean,
Well, yes.
Yes. So you don't have to just put larceny.
No, well, we would prefer, well, when it comes to that, I'm going to deal with it otherwise because the minister by ministerial order can make the amendment.
Right. No, because you're limiting this thing. Just put larceny, and depending on the quantum,
we'll move on because an order, and when the order comes for,
Yes.
we'll look at how best to structure it to ensure we can cover the offense among the gangs. The Defense Act will be the next one of impersonating a Jamaica Defense Force. So that should be that's pretty straightforward.
Chairman, I'm not sure though, how are these amendments consequential to anti-gang? Because normally when we talk about consequential, it's something that is necessary for anti-gang. I'm just wondering how are we, the remit of this committee is to review the Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act. So the recommendations coming from this committee are in relation to that. Or if you made a recommendation that now needs to be consequential amended, meaning that there was, say, a reference to the Anti-Gang Act in another act, and you need for there to be consistency. So I'm just wondering, how is this consequential amendment? Because then maybe it can be done, but in another way, just not as a recommendation from this committee.
Because impersonating a JDF officer is already an offense. And it's an offense in the anti-gang as well. So, I think the next item we are doing already, right, legal reform, the Interception of Communication Act. We don't need it, yeah, we've been doing it by order. The Parole Act. The Parole Act. Would we need an amendment to the Parole Act?
No.
We don't need any there.
That is instructions to be given to the parole board.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we're already on that route.
Yes.
You know, this takes us to the end of the matrix. No, we have taken this out of the way, although we wait along, and there's a short meeting, I thought, that. What we have to do, I think, circulated today is a summary sheet of decision made by the committee in section 1 to 20, and we'll add one page for what we did today. And I'll ask members to read this thoroughly now, and then when we come back, we really will have to confer the minutes and make a final decision on these recommendations. It was circulated. You didn't circulate it? Right. So I think this is really what we have to do now, is go to the summary and indicate and next week what we confirm. So you didn't give Mr. Bailey a copy? That's the big omission, you know. Remember? Yeah, well, what I'd like to do is to look at that appropriate day that I can get a full quorum, because when we make the decisions, it will be once we make them, they're final. So let me, all right, we're running into summer, so I hope we can make it, right? I don't get summer holidays, you know what? We have a couple of Thursdays, 11, 18, and what's the 18th?
Thursday.
Hmm?
It's 1 week away, sir.
Today is the, oh yes.
For the, when is Parliament ending here?
All right.
So we'd have to wrap up certain from like. We'd have
Sorry.
to-
th and 25th. Can we commit ourselves to the 18th? th? Closely. Please tell your colleagues. Okay. Remember, to tell all your colleagues to postpone your summer holiday till after into August. The 25th, and we'll send him notes out now, Miss McCarthy, and I'll ask.
I'm not reading it.
Eh?
I'll talk off the mic, sir.
I will send a note as well from the chairman to all members. We need the members to come. So while they walk out, Minister of Justice, please tell your colleagues and reinforce that. Postpone their summer holiday until after July.
Minister, I'm reminding you that the 25th is National Security Council meeting.
Minister. Oh God, boy.
So we can meet this.
No, it's National Security
Oh,
Council. All right.
So, sir.
Looks like the nearest I can get is the 31st. It's a Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. Think that's too long? Huh? 2 o'clock on the 30th. On Tuesday the 30th. Because we're not going to have Parliament that week. We close on it. All right. The items to close off.
So we'll do the report, finalize
So
the report.
please circulate. We'll
So
circulate this.
If they can read this, sir.
Ask all members to. Minister Chuck, you are the lawyer. Ask your members to read the members. I will reinforce that. Read the summary of decisions, so when we come, we can really tie up this thing.
I'll give.
Why you throw the ball at Mr. Bailey? Mr. Bailey do a lot of work, you know. When is your Justice Council meeting?
Yeah. Mr. Bailey and Miss Bailey and that lady.
You don't get a brief from DPP. All right.
Minister, I'm wondering, in the notice from the good Miss McCarthy, perhaps she could emphasize what is it that is to be done by the members and the purpose. That is it the last meeting? Indicate that in the particular notice.
Yes.
And what it is that you want members to do.
So we have to confer the minutes, agree to the decisions we have taken as they are here now, and have the clerk prepare the documentation to go conclude it. So we will do that, and I will make some personal calls to the members as well.
Thank you.
In the parliamentary team. Could you send a copy to those who although they have not been attending? Yeah, to all the members. So see if we can get them.
I'll just take them back up for you mean for today, sir.
Huh?
Today.
I think so. Mine was printed out. Yeah.
Don't send it last.
I'm asking that a copy of this be sent to all of the members, even those who have not been attending, to see if we can get them out for this meeting. They can read it. I think they're all literate members. Get this thing done. So we'll set it for Tuesday, the 30th at 2 o'clock. I'll speak to Mr. Samuela today. We're supposed to be closing Parliament on the 23rd for sittings. Unless I don't think anything will happen dramatically. Let me thank all you and thank the professionals for their patience, because it is the members who came pretty late. This particular meeting we have to try and get done on time and tidy up, and we should be able to do it. All right. And I thank the DPP for bringing herself. We're into a very busy time, but you know your opinions, although not judicial, are very important to what we're doing. Adjourn until the 30th, 2 o'clock.
Little germs do.
Pink eye running belly even flu. Germs can make them happen to you.
Put germs on our manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs around here.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Standards, the essential building blocks of a functional world. The driving invisible force behind the quality of how we live, work, and play in the Caribbean. In the expressions of our creative genius and cultural industries.
Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again, Blake gets the silver.
And in our drive for competitive advantage in how we trade and do business with the world. This is the story of CrossQ, CARICOM's regional organization for standards and quality, and its continuing journey in quality.